UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo Castro III, Gerry Alcantara, and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. Increase in combat duty pay is seen to boost the morale of the armed forces of the Philippines soldiers assigned to combat areas. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Of the 125,000-strong armed forces of the Philippines, around 70,000 of them are risking their lives daily, fighting enemies of the state. Among the security threats addressed by the military are rebels, bandits, and terrorists. To improve the living conditions of men in uniform and to boost the morale of those engaged in combating threats to national security and public order, Executive Order No. 3 was signed by President Rodrigo Duterte on September 26, ordering the increase of the combat duty pay and combat incentive pay.
Yan po ay malaking pangangahalaga dun sa kanilang sakripisyo sa mga mahihirap na lugar. Hindi po lahat ng miyembro ng armed forces ang tatanggap nito. Ang lahat po ng tatanggap nito na may karapatang tumanggap ay yung mga nagsisilbi lang po sa mga lugar na mapanganib, yung mga combat areas na tinatawag natin.
Currently, the combat duty pay of soldiers amounts to 500 pesos a month, while the combat incentive pay is 150 pesos per day of actual combat, while the PNP has 340 pesos combat duty pay per month. Under the executive order, the rate of the combat duty pay for officers and enlisted personnel of the AFP is raised to 3,000 pesos per month, aside from the 300 pesos combat incentives pay per day for those who figure directly in actual combat against lawless elements. The initial funding requirement to implement this shall be drawn from the Miscellaneous Personnel Benefits Fund, while the succeeding funding shall be included in the specific budgets of the AFP and PNP in the General Appropriations Act, provided the actual roster of military and uniformed personnel. Aside from the combat pay and incentives, President Duterte also promises to increase the salary of soldiers and policemen.
As a matter of fact, you will feel it in your, you can see it in your pay. Dagdag na ang sweldo. By next year, dublado na talaga sweldo nila.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
A group from Davao City believes that livelihood programs will help save women and children from prostitution. Joanna will tell us why.
The number of cases of women and children involved in prostitution is soaring, according to Jeanette Ampog, the executive director of the group Talikala.
Ang hinungdan o rason nganong daghan tungod kay nagpadayon ang kalisod nga nasinati kay survival option manggunis sa mga kababayenan o karon naging survival option sa mga bata nga gusto mo eskwela o gusto makatabang sa pamilya.
Hence, the group has called for the creation of a program for women and children involved in prostitution. The group is based in Davao City. Talikala also calls for the opening of access to basic services like health and education to children exposed to exploitation in the city. According to the group, they have already helped more than 200 individuals involved in prostitution this year. 60% of them were minors or below 18 years old.
Unta matubag gyud tong mga panginahanglan sa babae nga nasa prostitution, isa ana katong panginabuhian no. Kung dili man livelihood, pwede ba employment, bahalag gamay nga sweldo.
Talikala is a non-government organization that gives counseling and case management services to victims of prostitution. Joanna, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of Labor and Employment has defended that contractualization conditions among government offices are better than that in private firms. Joanano is back to tell us why.
Sa tingin ko, yung endo, hindi na issue yan. Non-issue na yan. Talagang mawawala yan. Ang magiging ano na lang yung tungkol sa contractualization. Whether total elimination ng contractualization or we will still allow for exemptions.
This was the statement of the Department of Labor and Employment Secretary Sylvester Bello III on the issue of contractualization in the country. Bello reiterates that there are a lot of things to be considered and needs a series of consultation among the stakeholders before they will decide on whether to eliminate the system or still allow exemptions. He also stressed that contractualization system among government offices should not be compared with private firms. Although government offices are under the mandate of the Civil Service Commission, the labor chief explained that public services might suffer if the system will not be considered.
Dapat intindihan nila kasi walang basis for comparison. Kasi sila negosyo, profit. Ang gobyerno, hindi naman profit kundi serbisyo. So kailangan hindi maapektuhan ng operation ng mga government agencies, otherwise public service will be affected.
In line with the government's campaign to eradicate contractualization system, the Secretary has instructed 17 regional offices to conduct an intensive assessment among private companies that have a high incidence of contractualization. Around 500 labor law compliance officers will also be deployed in different regions to ensure that all establishments undergo assessment. Among their priorities are malls, hotels, restaurants, food chains, and manufacturing industries. Dollar regional offices will also have a massive information campaign to help establishments be aware of the prohibitions on the contracting and subcontracting system of hiring employees. The Labor Department targets to minimize contractualization by 50% before the year ends. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Foreign workers in Taiwan show support for a proposed legislation that targets recruitment agencies. Amiel Pascual will tell us why.
Thousands of migrant workers have gathered in Taipei, calling on Taiwan's government to fast-track the passage of an amendment of the Employment Service Act. The amendment would allow the scrapping of a provision that requires migrant workers to leave the country for at least 1 day every 3 years if they want to be rehired.
Ang gusto namin na panawagan doon sa Taiwan government na sana walain na yung 1 day exit in 3 years. Kasi ang nangyari ngayon, every time babalik kami ng Taiwan, nagbabayad kami ng placement fee, which is ang malaki talaga yung bawas sa amin. Minsan nga, yung kita namin dito sa Taiwan, pabalik namin, maubos na yan. Pagbalik namin, manghihiram na naman kami.
The Taiwan International Workers Association believes that the possibility for the bill to be passed was high. However, manpower agencies have argued that scrapping such a requirement would increase the chances of foreign workers fleeing their jobs, that migrant workers would become immigrants of the country and lower the quality of the society. According to the Taiwan Ministry of Labor, from among the 600,000 plus foreign workers in the country, the Philippines ranks third, with the highest number of manpower population in Taiwan. TIWA urges the government to pass the law amendment soon.
The scrapping of the requirements will be the first step to prevent exploitation of migrant workers and Taiwan moving toward to a country that adheres to human rights. Amiel Pascual, UNTV News and Rescue, Taipei, Taiwan.
UNTV grants the wish of a letter sender who asked for help in reviving their small poultry business. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
Luz Abuyen's wish of reviving their family's small poultry business has been granted by UNTV as part of Serbisyong Kasangbahay and Munting Pangarap led by Mr. Public Service Kuya Daniel Razon. Luz decided to write a letter to the program Munting Pangarap because of difficulties in life. Her husband, Joe Abuyen, has had a stroke since April, and Luz has thought of discontinuing accepting laundry jobs and to just revive their small poultry so she could still take care of her husband. With a small amount she earns every month, Luz can only pay the interest of their 3,000 peso debt because of her husband's medication.
Ang munting pangarap ko po sana ay magkaroon po ng puhunan para po sa pag-aalaga ng sisiw. Para po matustusan ko po yung pangangailangan din ng asawa ko.
Aside from Joe, Luz is also taking care of their granddaughter.
Gusto ko po sa kanya, regalo, damit. Wala na po akong damit sa bahay.
Ito ang iyong kahilingang damit. Ayan. Anong masasabi mo kay Kuya Daniel?
Salamat po, Kuya Daniel.
Aside from the capital for their poultry, the program has also granted a small livelihood showcase for the family.
Hindi po namin inaasahan po ito. Nagulat nga po. Sobrang galak po kami. Kasi po, natupad din po yung munting pangarap po namin.
Salamat po, Kuya Daniel. Salamat po. 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 Salamat po.
na makakatulong po sa asawa ko.
Mapasalamat ba ako? Salamat sa Diyos.
Ray Pilayo for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Next in Y News. Filipino businessmen see no drawbacks from President Rodrigo Duterte's tirades against the United States and the European Union.
Alleged former members of the Davao Death Squad face the Senate investigation on extrajudicial killings.
And Tanauan City Mayor Thony Halili denies his involvement in illegal drug operations and appeals for revalidation of the narco list that implicates his name.
Y News will be right back. Motorists are experiencing moderate to heavy traffic in some areas in Metro Manila this evening. Mon Hokson is at Quezon Avenue to tell us why live. Go ahead, Mon.
Good evening. Let us check the traffic situation with the help of our different live points around Metro Manila. Let's first check the traffic situation here in Quezon Avenue. Vehicles coming from EDSA going to Manila will not encounter any problem along Quezon Avenue up to G. Araneta. But for those vehicles going east, coming from España will experience heavy traffic starting from Scout Borromeo up to Elliptical Road. Let's check the traffic situation in EDSA Guadalupe. Vehicles coming from Guadalupe going to Shaw Boulevard will experience heavy traffic starting from Ortigas area all the way up to Buendia and Ayala in Makati. And vehicles from Orense going to Ayala will also experience heavy traffic in the same area. Let's go further south in Sucat Road, Parañaque. Vehicles going to Sucat Highway will just encounter moderate traffic as of this time, and also for vehicles going to NAIA Terminal 1. Let's check the traffic situation in SM Santa Mesa, corner G. Araneta. Students going home and also for those students from different universities in that area will encounter moderate traffic along Aurora Boulevard in Cubao. While vehicles from G. Araneta going to Nagtahan Bridge will experience light to moderate traffic in Santa Mesa, Manila. Let's see the traffic situation in front of UP Techno Hub along Commonwealth. Vehicles from Philcoa to Tandangsora will experience moderate traffic, while vehicles from Tandangsora to Philcoa and Elliptical Road will experience light traffic as of this moment in Quezon City. Reminders to all motorists, number coding is implemented tomorrow starting from 7 a.m. up to 7 p.m. All vehicles with plate number ending in number 3 and 4 is prohibited in all major roads in Metro Manila tomorrow. And that's our traffic update. Back to you.
Thank you, Mon Hokson, reporting live from Quezon Avenue. Filipino businessmen see no drawbacks from President Rodrigo Duterte's recent tirades against the United States and the European Union. On the contrary, they consider Duterte's pronouncement about befriending Russia as a positive development. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The Filipino business community does not agree with the notion that President Duterte's rants against the US and the EU are driving foreign investors out of the country. They say that it's only normal for foreign businesses to move their capital due to strengthening dollar and peso devaluation.
Walang connection yan sa pronouncement ng Presidente. Yung foreign direct investment, sabi ko nga, bigyan niyo ako ng isa na foreign investor dito sa Pilipinas. Amerikano, European, na umalis. Dahil dyan, wala
They note that businessmen only need to be assured of stability and that their investments will earn profits.
Yung mga for direct investment, long-time money yan ang nag-create ng jobs. Pero yan, profit ang hinahanap yan. Alam pakialam sa extrajudicial killing yan. Huwag lang sila papatayin mo.
Local businesses are also open to closer ties with Russia, supporting Duterte in his bid to befriend Putin and the Russians. They said this will create new markets for our exports.
Dapat ganun din ang attitude natin. Huwag natin kakaawayan yung mga ibang bayan. Ang dapat mag-develop tayo ng mga new markets dito sa Russia. Russia itself gustong makipagnegosyo sa mga bayan dito sa East because lumalayo na rin sila sa Amerika at sa Canada at sa Europe because ginagawang weapon ng Amerika yung tinatawag.
Local businessmen identify 4 issues that affects the current business climate, namely the unclear mining policies, the confusion in labor laws, the moratorium in land use conversion, and the traffic congestion. These, they say, and not Duterte's rants, are the things that will drive investors away if remain unresolved in the next 100 days. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The House leadership is asking for the public's understanding for any shortcomings of the Duterte administration in its first 100 days. The House Speaker has also said that the administration should focus more on existing problems such as traffic congestion and railway system in Metro Manila. Nel Maribohok will tell us why.
House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez urges local government units and other stakeholders to help the national government in resolving traffic congestion in Metro Manila. Congressman Alvarez says there are existing problems in the country which cannot be resolved overnight or within the first 100 days of Duterte administration.
Sad to say na wala pa akong nararamdaman na improvement as far as traffic is concerned sa Metro Manila and maybe Metro Cebu. Hanggang ngayon problema pa rin, may tumitirik pa rin na tren. Pinrivatize na yan, di ba?
The House leadership still has no concrete position yet regarding the granting of emergency power to President Duterte, which is the option of the administration to resolve the traffic problem in Metro Manila. Despite this, Speaker Alvarez is contented with the performance of the administration in its first 100 days on October 7, particularly in the implementation of peace and order in the country.
I-compare mo dun sa mga previous administrations, yung 100 days halos hindi mo maramdaman. At least ngayon, tignan mo yung drop ng criminality. It has dropped to about 50% at least.
House leadership also calls on the public's understanding for any shortcomings of the administration, like the criticisms on the Hitler remark of President Duterte.
Siya naman ang pinili ng taong bayan, gano'n na rin yung style niya nung kampanya. So, hindi naman siya nagbabago. He's trying, I'm sure, to change, pero 71 years old na rin siya. Hindi naman basta, you cannot change overnight also.
Kahit na siya presidente, pero tao pa rin yun. Nagkakamali. Sa dami ng problema ng bansa, hindi maiwasan na magkakamali ka talaga.
Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
New witnesses in today's Senate investigation on the alleged cases of extrajudicial killings in Davao City when President Rodrigo Duterte was still mayor have all denied Edgar Matobato's statements. Joyce Balancho is at the Senate of the Philippines to tell us why live. Yes, good evening, Joyce.
Yes, good evening, Gerry. The Senate continued its inquiry today on the alleged cases of extrajudicial killings and summary executions happening across the country that are being linked to the Duterte administration's war against illegal drugs. Now, 4 witnesses who are tagged to be as alleged former members of the Davao Death Squad were presented in the hearing. Retired Police Senior Superintendent Jonicio Abude and SPO3 Arthur Las Cañas both denied statements of Edgar Matobato that they were members of the Davao Death Squad or DDS and were hired to kill criminals in Davao City, following the orders of then-Mayor Rodrigo Duterte. Instead, the two boasted of their achievements in the Davao City's Police Heinous Crimes Division, saying that through which they had arrested many drug personalities without using violence.
We are not into killing, Mrs. Herman, Your Honor, but we are there to conduct investigation, follow-up cases, conduct surveillance.
Abude also admits knowing Matobato, whom he said is a relative of one of his colleagues. Nevertheless, Senator Laila de Lima brought up charges against Abude's camp by the Office of the Ombudsman in connection to their alleged failure to investigate and resolve the prevalent killings by alleged members of the DDS.
Murder should be heinous crime. There are 727 cases of murder or 720 persons murdered, according to OMB Moleo fact-finding team, in just 4 years. Did you investigate those?
During that period, 2006, I was the station commander of Kalinan Police Station, and all cases that transpired in my jurisdiction was properly investigated.
And how many cases are these?
I cannot remember, Your Honor.
The senators have also thoroughly scrutinized SPO3 Arthur Las Cañas, whom Matobato regarded as a deputy and a close friend of Duterte.
Ikaw daw ang team leader ng Davao Death Squad.
Una-una, Your Honor, hindi yan totoo.
Involved daw kayo sa bombing ng isang moske.
Kasinungalingan po yan.
Hindi po totoo.
Your Honor, hindi po totoo.
Ikaw daw po ang isa sa nag-kidnap kay Sally Macdum.
Kasinungalingan at hindi totoo po yan, Your Honor.
Las Cañas says he was close to Matobato as he was a real estate agent but denies joining a group that conducted killings in Davao City. He also says it is possible that there's someone coaching Matobato to lie.
Sa personal ko lang po, na Mr. Chair, Your Honors, baka politika. Gusto niya siguro sirain yung presidente Mayor Rodrigo Duterte. Kasi yun naman ang tumbok ng ano niya eh. Yung mga lahat na sinasabi niya, patayan, DDS, yung pagkain sa buhaya, hindi naman totoo yun.
Senator Alan Peter Cayetano believes the witnesses' testimonies prove plans of Duterte's critics against the president.
May politika, may politiko, no? I don't know, but di ba, 3 weeks ago, I told you, may DDS naman talaga, di ba? Yung De Lima Drilon at Sunny Trillanes, that do not agree with this administration and would rather have a different administration.
Senator Laila de Lima, however, sees that the witnesses' testimonies prove the credibility of Matobato.
Wala po akong inaasahan na may aamin sa kanila na una DDS sila o kaya merong DDS. Kasi oras na aminin nila yon, parang inaamin na rin nila yung pagpapapatay. Ang punto nito is that hindi nag-iimbento si Mr. Matobato dun sa mga identity ng mga police officers na yan. Diba? Hindi niya yan inimbento. Mga totoong tao pala sila.
Gerry, aside from Abude and Las Cañas, 2 more witnesses were also presented in the course of the hearing today. And what is similar to the two is they have also confessed and admitted having personally known Edgar Matobato, who principally named them as the former members of the Davao Death Squad or the DDS. Now, aside from the 4 witnesses presented today, we are expecting to see 12 more as the Senate continues its investigation tomorrow and on Wednesday. Gerry?
Thank you for that report, Joyce Balancho, live from the Senate of the Philippines. Police Chief Ronald De La Rosa has allowed the 4 high-profile inmates involved in the Bilibid riot to temporarily stay at the PNP Custodial Center. Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
PNP Chief Police Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa explains that he allowed the inmates involved in the recent riot inside the Bilibid to be brought into the police facility that the incident will not happen again.
Everyday kasi nakikita-kita yung mga grupo na yan, baka ma-agitate sila na magkakaroon ulit ng riot, away, girian. So to avoid siguro ng girian, to diffuse the tension, ihiwalay muna sila para hindi masyado mainit sa loob.
General De La Rosa says the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group has appealed for the inmates to temporarily stay in Camp Crame while the investigation on the incident is still ongoing.
Initially, ang sabi-sabi ng director ng CIDG, i-request niya para makukunan niya ng statements dito sa loob ng krami. Yun ang sabi ng CIDG. Sa part of the investigation, para malaman kung anong nangyari dun sa loob.
It is uncertain until when they will stay in the custodial center, but the PNP chief says it is better for them to stay there where the place is not congested unlike in other prison in the country. The 4 inmates include Ruben Thiu, Clarence Dungail, Edgar Cinco, and Tomas Doniña. Doniña was the one mentioned by JB Sebastian on his affidavit who stopped him during the riot incident at Building 14, maximum security of the New Bilibid prisons last September 28. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The alleged right-hand man of the Odicta couple was not able to escape alive in a buy-bust operation last night. Victor Cosari will tell us why.
Roberto Toto Supremo, the alleged hitman of Iloilo drug lords Melvin and Miriam Odicta, resisted arrest and ran towards his house when the Iloilo City Police arrived. The authorities were in the area to conduct a buy-bust operation. According to Police Chief Inspector Aldrin Lamera, the suspect was seen holding a grenade and even tried to throw it to the police when the authorities charged toward his house.
Nakapasok yung operatives natin doon at si Toto Supremo about to throw a hand grenade, later on known as the MK2 hand grenade, but our operatives neutralized him.
The suspect was brought to the hospital but was declared dead on arrival because of the gunshots he sustained in his forehead and right shoulder. According to Lamera, Toto is the 3rd high-valued target in Iloilo City.
Toto Supremo is a right hand of the late Melvin Odicta.
Recovered from the crime scene were a grenade and different kinds of ammunitions and firearms and suspected drug money. They immediately turned over the seized items to the Regional Crime Laboratory Office for laboratory testing. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Quezon City Police District is now validating the names of Krista Miller's celebrity clients in illegal drugs following her arrest. Grace Casin tells us why.
Actress Krista Miller did not deny participation in illegal drugs following her arrest in a buy-bust operation conducted by the Quezon City Police District. In fact, she also has named known personalities that used to be her clients, but the police is still validating the information.
Miller has been one of the celebrities that our unit is monitoring. Merong mga magagandang information din tayo nakuha and which will be subjected for validation and that will be used by our operatives in the future conduct of operation.
Miller was arrested on September 30 in Valenzuela City in a buy-bust operation conducted by the QCPD, together with Aaron Medina, after they were named by models Leah Bolia and Jeremy Padolina and 3 others that are alleged supplier of Cebu.
Totoo daw na doon kayo kumukuha ng drugs sa kanya?
Isang beses lang.
Ha?
Isang beses.
Isa lang?
Isang beses lang po.
Ha?
Ito yung sinasabi natin na hindi man kailangan nasa listahan ka para ikaw ay be subjected to the police operation.
The PNP is now investigating if Miller is involved in a big drug syndicate. In 2014, Miller caught on CCTV camera in one hospital visiting convicted drug lord Ricardo Camata. Miller and her cohorts were charged with appropriate charges and now detained in Camp Caringal. The police remind known personalities to voluntarily surrender before police arrest them through a buy-bust operation. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Tanauan City Mayor Thony Halili denies his involvement in illegal drug operations and appeals for a revalidation of the narco list that implicates his name. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Nadismaya, siyempre. Sino ba naman na hindi madidismaya? Pero tinatawanan ko lang.
Tanauan City Mayor Thony Halili is known for putting arrested drug suspects and criminals through the walk of shame. That's why he was dismayed after members of the Philippine National Police held Oplan Tokhang inside his office last week. The mayor strongly asserts that he is not a protector of any illegal drug operation in his city.
Parang nawawala na yung professionalism sa PNP. Parang nagiging personal.
Walang personal, trabaho lang. Of course, hindi niya pinirmahan yung undertaking.
Thus, the mayor has appealed to President Rodrigo Duterte to put his narco list of politicians under intensive validation to avoid apologizing once more because of misinformations.
Suggest natin kay President Duterte na bago maglabas ng narco list ng mga local government officials, magkaroon muna ng validation ng information.
Halili believes that his inclusion on the list of narco politicians has something to do with politics. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Police Chief Ronald De La Rosa assures that the police intel community remains united despite some misunderstandings. Leia Ilagan will tell us why.
That's normal. Mechanics yan ng intel community. Mayroon talaga nagbabanggaan. Not for any reasons, kundi talagang fluid yung situation ng environment.
PNP Chief Police Director General Ronald De La Rosa admits that there are times when the Philippine National Police, the National Bureau of Investigation, and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency are in conflict when it comes to the personalities included in the President Duterte's narco list.
There are instances na, halimbawa, nakikita ng PNP na ito ipuser ito. Tapos mamaya-maya, pagdating naman sa ibang agency, sinasabi nila na asset namin yan. So, kaya nagkakabangga-banggaan minsan.
Despite this, General Bato says such instances will not hinder the government's aim to eliminate illegal drugs in the country. The new narco list held by President Duterte is yet to be publicized due to some unresolved details. But the PNP chief assures that every information is being put under intensified validation before releasing it to the public. The general adds that despite being disunited about some personalities on the list, they are united in their fight against illegal drugs because they believe that they will succeed faster if they act as one. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Coming up, foreign workers in Taiwan marched to demand the urgent passage of a proposed legislation that hits recruitment agencies.
The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, declares the Chinese yuan as the fifth freely usable currency in its standard drawing rights basket.
UNTV inspires the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority to require their employees to undergo first aid and rescue trainings.
More from Y News after this break. Typhoon Chaba has exited the Philippine Area of Responsibility, or PAR, at 2 p.m. today. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, is monitoring another low-pressure area which was located at 1,780 kilometers east of Luzon. It is expected to enter the Philippine Area of Responsibility by Wednesday and more likely to develop into a tropical cyclone. Meanwhile, the Intertropical Convergence Zone is affecting Mindanao. Regions of Caragas, Oxargen, and Davao will experience light to moderate rains, while isolated rain showers and thunderstorms will prevail over Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Authorities in South and Western Australia tell residents to brace for more bad weather. Eileen Siliano will tell us why.
Rain has caused widespread flooding near Adelaide in South Australia since Saturday, with rivers bursting their banks. Authorities have told residents to brace for more bad weather. Army personnel have filled and delivered some 60,000 sandbags on Saturday to protect properties as the Goler and Wakefield rivers overflowed following a night of heavy rain.
There's certain parts of Gawler that are blocked off, you cannot get through. There's emergency services blocking roads off, blocking parts of people's houses, and sandbagging going on. It's pretty bad. The river's flowing really fast.
South Australian Premier Gerry has praised those involved in efforts to protect the region.
There's been a Herculean effort to protect Port Wakefield. A temporary levee of sandbags has been constructed and up to this point has been effective in protecting the town.
State Emergency Service spokesman Chris Beatty has advised locals to be vigilant in protecting their properties.
Listen carefully to the advice of the emergency services authorities, maintain situational awareness and prepare your homes and families in the event that they may be impacted by flooding.
Extreme weather conditions and floodings have triggered the Department of Fire and Emergency Services to issue a bushfire warning within Wyndham and East Kimberley, Western Australia due to lightning. Weather experts are predicting further rain in the region, with up to 100 millimeters of rain expected to fall over the Adelaide Hills region until Tuesday, October 4. Eileen Soliano, UNTV News and Rescue, Perth, Australia.
The Chinese yuan, locally known as renminbi, is now officially declared to be a freely usable currency. Dulce Alarcon will tell us why.
The renminbi will be considered by the international community as a freely usable international currency and will join the basket of the special drawing rights.
In a milestone for China's campaign for recognition as a global economic power, the Chinese yuan has now become one of the International Monetary Fund's reserve currencies. The yuan joins the US dollar, the euro, the yen, the British pound in the IMF's special drawing rights or SDR basket, which determines currencies that countries can receive as part of IMF loans.
It is a significant change for the fund because since the euro, this is the first time that a new currency is included to that basket.
The IMF is adding the yuan, also known as the renminbi or people's money, on the same day that the Communist Party celebrates the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949. Last November, the IMF decided to include the yuan in the SDR basket as a fifth currency, effective on October 1st, 2016. The executive board of the IMF on Friday also decided the weight of each currency in the new basket, with the yuan being 10.92%, the US dollar 41.73%, the euro 30.93%, the Japanese yen 8.33%, and the pound sterling 8.09%. The percentage will remain fixed over the next 5 years until the next review of the basket. According to Central Bank, China will use this opportunity to further deepen economic reform and open up sector to promote global growth. Dulce Alarcon, UNTV News and Rescue, Shanghai, China.
A United Nations negotiation is inching towards a landmark deal which aims to curb airplane emissions. Bianca Quijano will tell us why.
More than 2,000 government officials from around the world have gathered in Montreal at the headquarters of the UN International Civil Aviation Organization to adopt the first ever international mechanism to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from aviation. It has been proposed at the meeting that emissions from aviation will be measured from a baseline to be set in 2020. Emissions that exceed this level will then have to be offset by all countries, with exceptions for developing nations, unless they choose to volunteer. So far, 63 countries have pledged to join the scheme, including the US, China, Japan, Canada, and the European Union. A draft text has been put forward with a final version of the deal expected to be decided upon next week. Global aviation currently moves 10 million passengers around every day, pumping out enough emissions to contribute 1.3% to the overall total of greenhouse gases emitted from all sources. Aviation's emissions share is expected to leap to 22% by 2050, placing growing pressure on the sector to help the world avoid further global warming. Environmental groups warn that the deal will do little to limit pollution unless more countries sign up in order to honor the goals set at the Paris Climate Agreement last year. Bianca Quijano, UNTV News and Rescue, Toronto, Canada.
Saudi Arabia and Qatari forces might decide to arm their men if the Syrian war is not halted. Ramil Ramal will tell us why.
The 6-member Gulf Cooperation Council has asked the UN to intervene in Syria to stop aerial bombardments of the city of Aleppo that are killing hundreds of civilians. The Sunni Muslim-dominated council, representing Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and Qatar, says a Syrian government offensive on the city is obviously and systematically destroying neighborhoods. It is a flagrant aggression contrary to international laws. The Council has called on the United Nations to implement relevant Council resolutions over the Syria crisis. U.S. officials say the collapse of the latest Syria ceasefire has heightened the possibility that Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia and Qatar, might arm Syrian rebels with shoulder-fired missiles to defend themselves against Syrian and Russian warplanes. Meanwhile, residents of the city of Aleppo say they are struggling to cope in a city cut off from aid and pounded by bombs.
هذا هون بالمنطقة أول شغلة ونحن بقينا تقريبا شيء عدة أو 3 بالمنطقة معروفين يعني وأمور وكمان الإضافة إنه في مياه انقطعت صار لي أكثر من سنة ونص تقريبا المي مقطوعة والكهرباء مقطوعة أكثر غارات روسية اجت علينا حتى آخر غارة هون مثل برميل أنه دمرت المنطقة وتقريبا راح فيها شيء 3-4 شهداء وشيء 30 مصاب تقريبا هون في المنطقة بحي الأنصاري. وعين لهلا ما يحكي الطيران طاول هون يعني هون بضرب رشاش بالليل طيران الروسي طيران الحربي يعني ما عم بعيفنا بخيرنا طاول بنكون باركين ما بنحس الا اختي تلفني صغيره تبكي كثير وشيء يعني ما بينعاش طاول الطيران الروسي عم برش بالرشاش بالليل وبالنهار قذائف هذا صواريخ وبراميل رفقاتي قدامي عم يستشهدوا يعني وقت اللي يعني كنا قبل نلعب بالملعب نلعب يعني نكيف بس هلا حرمنا من نشوف يعني ما بقى ننجمع نحن رفقاتنا مع بعضنا هو ننجمع مع بعضنا طول.
For 10 days, a Russian-backed Syrian government offensive has been underway to capture eastern Aleppo and crush the last urban stronghold of a revolt that began in 2011. Ramil Ramal, UNTV News and Rescue, Middle East.
Bulldogs roar and snap the mind-blowing grand finals after their 62-year premiership drought in AFL history. James Cos will tell us why.
I'm an old man and you don't really cry very often when you get to that age, but I certainly cried that day, just with happiness that we got there.
Some Bulldogs fans who have been supporting the team for decades are emotional to have witnessed that finally the Western Bulldogs have broken more than 6 decades of premiership drought by beating the Sydney Swans in the 2016 Australian Football League Grand Finals.
Unbelievable. Can't believe it. 62 years and it just comes.
Been waiting that long and had so many disappointments that we've never made the grand final before. The first game I ever saw them play was the grand final in 54. And I've followed them ever since, and to win a final and win the finals like we did to get to the grand final was something that was truly unbelievable.
Fans queued as early as 6 a.m. today at the Western Bulldogs Football Club headquarters in Barclay Street, Footscray, Victoria to get their souvenir items, days after the historic victory of their favorite team. The game last Friday was a grand final for the history books, an incredible contest where neither team really seemed to hold a winning advantage until the Dogs pulled away in the final quarter. Dogs beat the Sydney Swans by 22 points, sending the long-suffering fans into frenzy, while Jason Johannesson claims Norm Smith medal as best player afield. The Bulldogs' grand final victory was the fourth most watched match in BFL-AFL history, with a combined metropolitan and regional average of 4.89 million free-to-air viewers. James Goss, UNTV News and Rescue, Melbourne, Australia.
Team USA reclaims the Ryder Cup trophy, while International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach visits Paris ahead of the 2024 Summer Olympic Games. Mon Hokson tells us why.
The USA Ryder Cup teams reclaims the Golden Trophy against the Europeans in golf's top team competition, ending with 17-11, led by team captain Davis Love III. The Americans had won the biennial match play event in 2008 as Europe ran off 3 cup victories in a row. In another golf event, India's Ganganjit Bhullar ends a long trophy drought with a one-stroke victory at the Shinan Donghae Open in South Korea for his 6th title on the Asian Tour. The 28-year-old cards a final round 4 under par 67 for a tournament total of 15 under 269 at the Bears Best Cheongna Golf Club in Incheon. Meanwhile, International Olympic Committee or IOC President Thomas Bach attends a football match between refugees and athletes as he completed a 2-day visit to meet Paris Olympic Bid Committee for the 2024 Summer Olympics. Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo has promised that new sports facilities and housing developments in Paris' outer ring would leave a lasting legacy.
We are very proud to have this moment with the president of IOC in Paris. Paris is a very great city. We have a great union about the bid for 2024.
Even French President François Hollande says Paris is well equipped to stage a safe Olympics because of the security measures that are in place after the recent terror attacks.
Nous sommes devant cette réalité depuis longtemps, mais nous avons toutes les conditions pour réussir à protéger un événement comme les Jeux Olympiques de 2024. Et nous avons, si je puis dire, à cause des événements qui se sont produits, une forme de préparation qu'aucun autre pays peut avoir, compte tenu de ce qui nous a frappé et des moyens que nous avons dégagés.
Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The DOJ Justice Boosters dropped to the bottom of Group B standings following the team's loss to the Judiciary Magis. PNP responders joins the Bureau of Customs Transformers and the House of Representatives Solons in leading the Group B standings, while the Armed Forces of the Philippines Cavaliers leads Group A. Bernardadis tells us why.
Regained by Ibanez. Oh, what a shot! Wow. Ibanez pounding it hard. Goes straight to the hole.
The DOJ Justice Boosters drops to the bottom of the Group B standings with 3 losses and 0 win after losing to the 2-time UNTV Cup champion Judiciary Magis last Wednesday at the Pasig City Sports Center. It was the improved Justice Boosters who dominated the first and the second quarters. However, during the second half, the deep bench and veteran moves of the Judiciary Magis dominated the game. The Judiciary was able to catch up in the third quarter, 51-57, until the last buzzer of the ball game sounded 84-68. Warren Ibanez was hailed as the best player of the game with 15 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, and 1 block. While almost half of DOJ's score came from Jorel Cañizares, who made 30 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. Meanwhile, 3-time runner-up PNP responders joins the BOC Transformers and the HOR Solons in leading the Group B standings with a clean 2-0 win-loss record after destroying the NHA Builders. The responders did not allow the builders to execute their play through the leadership of Seasons 1 and 2 MVP Olan the Sniper Umiping with 28 points and Harold Santa Cruz with 21 points and 8 rebounds. Both of them were hailed as the best player of the game.
Pascual.
In Group A, defending champion AFP Cavaliers maintained the lead with a clean record of 2 wins with no losses after beating the MMDA Black Wolves in a neck-and-neck fight 90-80. The Black Wolves has now dropped to the bottom of the rankings in Group A with the Senate Defenders with 2 losses and 0 win. Bernard Daddies for the UNTV Cup Season 5.
Bangkok beats out London as the most visited city this year. Kat Dumaraos will tell us why.
Every year, MasterCard tracks airline tickets and souvenir purchases and other travel spending data to figure out which cities are the most popular for international tourists. This year, Bangkok topped the list for having approximately 21.5 million international tourists to welcome.
I'm not surprised. Our transport's very cheap and easy. Food is wonderful. Thai people are very friendly and helpful, and it's quite safe. Where we go, it's safe.
I guess it'd just be the people, the things to do here. Food, so there's so much to see and do here as well, and it's just a great place. I mean, I've only been here for a couple of days and already seen loads, loving it so far.
Bangkok's cheaper living costs, full facilities and entertainment for travel are the factors that help attract international visitors, according to MasterCard's Global Destination Cities Index 2016. The previous number 1 city, London, landed in the second rank with 19.88 million visitors. Among the other 132 cities that were surveyed are Paris, Dubai, New York, and Singapore. Economists believe that the Thai capital can maintain its rank after being able to prove that crises such as political issues and natural disasters have a very limited impact on tourism and is able to recover in a short period of time.
I think Thai people have service mind by natural, and I think that the people who doing in the tourism business can perform very well, and the numbers going up every year. Yeah.
Thailand can maintain its unique appeal to tourists with its attractions, mainly in Bangkok and other major provinces, through the support of its government. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue, Bangkok, Thailand.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority sets to pattern its slated rescue training to what UNTV has conducted on all its employees. Monokson will tell us why.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority will start the rescue training of all its employees.
Nakuha ko yung idea sa inyo no, na ginesta ko ni Daniel. No? Nakita ko na totoo rin lang naman. Ang tawag nila sa police yung force multiplier. So since kami yung kilalang or dapat na nagre-rescue, na dapat na marunong mag-rescue, dapat lahat kami sa MMDA, to include all employees, to include me, lahat ho yan should at least have a basic knowledge of rescue management. No?
MMDA has 10,000 employees that is scheduled to undergo the basic first aid rescue training. Kuya Daniel, on his part, commends the action of the MMDA. Kuya Daniel adds that he is hoping that some companies and government agencies can also undergo rescue training.
That's very commendable dahil kumbaga makikita mo na proactive sila sa ganito, and isang bagay yan na maaaring sundan rin ng iba't ibang mga government agencies kahit na hindi ng MMDA lamang, eventually maging yung ibang mga company.
In UNTV, all the employees, including janitors, receptionists, and even reporters, undergo basic first aid rescue training. This is in conformity with the advocacy of Kuya Daniel Razon of helping others first, before delivering the news. As follow-up, reporters are scheduled to undergo higher level of rescue training very soon.
We will continue yung ating ginagawang mga training na yan. At hindi naman kasi pwede na yan kumbaga sa isang basketball player or isang athlete, hindi pwede na dahil alam mo na yung basic na paraan ng pag-shoot, hindi ka na magpa-practice ng pag-shoot. So continuous pa din yan, tuloy-tuloy pa din yan, parang isang pagsasanay na hindi pwedeng i-abandon mo.
UNTV is the only media entity in the Philippines that promotes helping first the needy before delivering the news. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Those are the reasons behind the news, October 3, 2016. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
And I'm Darlene Basingan, because we need to know.
We will always ask why. Thank you for watching Why News.